I had never, ever planned to be a lawyer. I was heading right for the academy. Never planned to be a lawyer. But I decided it was the 60s and the early 70s rather, and I wanted to have a taste of the real world. So the learning that I had to do was excruciating to me. In other words, it was very self-conscious learning, because this was not at all what I ever planned to be. In fact, if people think that they're unprepared for practice in today, I can say with great candor that, you know, when I took the bar exam, I thought dying intestate was a disease. I knew nothing about the practice of law. I knew nothing about the reality of law. I'd gone to, dare I say it, Yale Law School, and I had taken sociology of law 1 through 10. So when I got into practice and when I found that, candidly, I was very good at it, I could use these skills for the service of powerless criminal defendants, women's rights issues. I didn't have any of this self-confidence. It was a total, I knew how to fake it. That was the long and short of it. There were times that you'd walk into court with your client and walk out without him, and you'd look at yourself in the mirror and say, where do I have the right, because I wish to be a lawyer, where do I have the right to experiment with his life? But I talked to myself, and we all did. This was the consciousness raising time. I could not face failing. It felt like we were all carrying the mantle of all women. And if I broke down in court, or if I failed miserably, the fear was, and it was certainly narcissistic, that that judge would never credit another woman lawyer, and that partner would never hire a woman lawyer. So we pushed ourselves. In the book I talk about, this is absolutely true. I used to do closing arguments in the shower, because when I got nervous, my voice got very, very high, and I would practice being definitive and practice lowering my voice. It did not come naturally, and I was filled with self-doubt. The only thing is that when you began to win, even though the winning was as fortuitous as the losing had been, suddenly you felt in control. Somebody once said that the judge who presided over the Susan Sachs case began to see me as a feisty, rebellious daughter, which was better than the way he saw me at the beginning, which was, I think, as a Martian. But no, because I came from poverty, modest circumstances, because I came from conservative parents, I felt very much that if I could persuade my father of the cause, then I could persuade anybody. And so that two things happened. One is that you desperately cared to make sure that everyone understood what you were doing. It was not enough to speak to the elites. And you also had the practice of dealing with people who really, you know, this was an alien world to them. I talk about my father when I marched against the war. I came back to Flushing, Queens. I confessed to him what I had done. And his comment was, Nance, it's one thing to believe in something. It's quite another thing to do something about it. And it was, I mean, that sort of summed it up. But I understood him. His parents were born in Europe. He felt fragile in this country. If I was too out there, who knew what would happen? I had come of age at a time when we felt confident in speaking out, but he certainly didn't. I had a student this year who was picking paper topics, and he said, you know, I don't want to do this paper topic because I may run for office, and I don't want this to be on my record. And I thought that how incredibly sad that was. The cases that I did with all the joy I had in me, and did what I thought was right. And if judgeship rewarded me, that was fine. But it's a result that can't be counted on. And the more likely result is that you wind up at the end of your life having prepared to start to be this person that you never became. So no, I wouldn't have had any other way. Of course, if Obama changes his mind and wants a 65-year-old activist on the Supreme Court, I'm his. If you live your life doing what you think is right, that's it. If you're rewarded for it, fine. If you're not rewarded for it, also fine. At the end of the day, you've done what you thought was right.